The pain started as a dull ache in my lower abdomen, but within minutes it wrapped around my stomach like a band of molten iron. I gripped the edge of the bathroom sink, my knuckles turning white against the gold fixtures. The cold marble pressed against my forehead as I doubled over, trying to breathe through the agony that was tearing through my body. "Owen," I gasped, but my voice barely rose above a whisper. The Alpha King's private quarters were silent, except for the sound of rain hammering against the windows. Thunder rolled across the palace, rattling the chandeliers that hung in the hallways beyond this locked door. Through the thick wood, I could hear distant music and laughter. The celebration had already begun without me, and I was trapped here, alone with pain that felt like it was splitting me in half. "Cecilia." Owen's voice came from outside the door, sharp with irritation rather than concern. "Dr. Finch said you have the flu. You're being dramatic." I heard his footsteps, the sound of his expensive dress shoes clicking against the marble hallway. They paused for just a moment, and I held my breath, hoping he would ask if I was okay, hoping he would stay. "The engagement announcement starts in 20 minutes, he continued, his tone cold and distant. "Leave through the servants' entrance when you're composed. I can't have you embarrassing me tonight." The footsteps moved away, each click of his shoes like a nail in my coffin. He was leaving. He'd always been leaving, I realized now. Even when he was standing right next to me, Owen had never really been there. "Please," I whispered, clutching my stomach as another wave of pain crashed through me. "Something's wrong. I need help. I need you." But the hallway had gone silent. He was gone. My legs gave out. I slid down the wall, my silk dress pooling around me like a silver puddle. That's when I saw it. Blood. Crimson spreading beneath me on the pristine white tile, stark and terrifying. "No, no, no," I sobbed, my hands pressing against my stomach. "Please, not the baby. Please don't take my baby." The bathroom door burst open so suddenly that I flinched. Dr. Maybelle Finch rushed in, her medical bag already in her hands. She must have used the servants' passages to get here without being seen. Maybelle had always been kind to me, one of the few people in this palace who treated me like I mattered. "Cecilia, I came as soon as I could," she said, kneeling beside me. Her hands were gentle as she helped me sit up, her eyes scanning my face with professional concern. "Tell me exactly what you're feeling." "The pain?" I managed between gasps. "And the bleeding. I think I'm losing the baby." Maybelle's eyes widened. "Baby? Cecilia, you're pregnant." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. 8 weeks. At least I think so. The home test was positive 3 days ago, but I haven't had a chance to tell Owen. And now it's too late. I'm losing it. I'm losing our baby. "Let me examine you," Maybelle said, her voice calm and steady even though I could see worry in her eyes. "We need to see what's happening." She worked quickly, pulling equipment from her bag, checking my vitals, pressing gentle fingers against my abdomen. I watched her face, trying to read every micro-expression, every flicker in her eyes. When she placed the small ultrasound device against my stomach, I held my breath. The seconds stretched into eternity. Then I heard it. A sound like galloping horses, fast and strong and impossibly beautiful. "That's the heartbeat," Maybelle whispered. And there were tears in her eyes now too. "Cecilia, the baby is alive. You're not having a miscarriage." Relief flooded through me so intensely that I felt dizzy. But the blood, the pain. "The bleeding appears to be from stress and physical strain, not from the pregnancy itself," Maybelle explained. She was staring at her equipment with an expression I couldn't quite read. "But Cecilia, these readings are unusual. The baby's energy signature is impossibly high, almost like royalty, but that shouldn't be possible for an Omega pregnancy." She drew my blood, and her hands moving with practiced efficiency. When she ran the sample through her portable analyzer, her hands actually trembled. What is it? I asked, fear creeping back into my chest. Is something wrong with the baby? Your DNA, Maybelle said slowly, looking at me with something like awe. It's not registering as standard wolf. The markers are reading as something ancient, something pure. Cecilia, where did you say you came from before you met Owen? I grew up in an orphanage in the Western Territories, I told her, confusion mixing with my fear. My parents died in a car accident when I was a baby. At least, that's what I was always told. Maybelle opened her mouth to say something else, but my phone buzzed on the counter. The sound cut through our conversation like a knife. I reached for it with shaking hands, and my heart stopped when I saw the notification. Breaking. Alpha King. Owen Richmond announces engagement to Lydia Mills, daughter of Southern Pack Alpha. Sources confirm bride is expecting the king's first heir. The words swam before my eyes. I had to read them 3 times before my brain could process what they meant. My trembling fingers tapped the video link beneath the headline. The ballroom filled my screen. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light over hundreds of well-dressed wolves. Flashbulbs popped as cameras captured every moment. And there, on the grand stage, was Owen. He wasn't wearing his usual cold mask, the expression of distant politeness he'd perfected over the years of ruling. He was smiling. Genuinely, warmly smiling in a way I'd spent 3 years trying to earn from him and never quite managed. And on his arm stood Lydia Mills. She was tall and elegant, her red hair cascading over her shoulders in perfect waves. Her emerald dress hugged a visible baby bump, and as I watched, she placed Owen's hand on her stomach. The crowd erupted in applause, and I felt my world crumbling around me. A reporter's voice cut through the noise. Your Majesty, is it true this is your fated mate? Owen looked at Lydia with something that looked like reverence, like wonder, like everything I'd wanted him to feel for me. Lydia and I have a bond that transcends ordinary connections. Yes, she's carrying my heir. The future of this kingdom is secure. The phone slipped from my hand, clattering onto the wet tile. The sound seemed impossibly loud in the sudden silence of the bathroom. He'd lied. For 3 years, he'd kept me as his companion, a never acknowledged, never marked, always hidden away like a shameful secret. He'd told me he needed time, that he wasn't ready for the mate bond, that his position as Alpha King made relationships complicated. And now he was claiming another woman's child as his heir, while his real child grew inside me, unknown and unwanted. The pain returned, sharper this time. Not just cramps now, but something breaking inside me, something fundamental shifting. I crawled toward the door, leaving a smear of blood on the pristine white marble. My hand reached for the handle, but I couldn't quite make my fingers work properly. Help, I whispered, but my voice was too weak to carry beyond these 4 walls. Through the gap under the bathroom door, I could see shadows passing, servants rushing to prepare for the celebration, and carrying champagne and flowers and all the trappings of Owen's new beginning. No one stopped. No one checked. I was invisible, just like Owen wanted. Heat flooded my veins, starting from my belly where the baby rested. It felt like fire in my bloodstream, burning away everything I thought I knew about myself. My vision blurred, the edges turning silver. In the mirror across the bathroom, I caught a glimpse of my reflection. For just a second, my eyes flashed molten silver instead of my usual brown. Maybelle, I gasped. But when I turned to look at her, the doctor was gone. Had she ever really been here? Or was I losing my mind along with everything else? Deep inside my chest, something ancient stirred. A voice that wasn't my wolf, but something older, more powerful, resonated through my very bones. Protect the child. Awaken. And daughter of kings. Then everything went black. I woke on the cold bathroom floor to someone shaking my shoulder. Maybelle's face swam into focus above me, her expression tight with worry. "You passed out for 20 minutes," she said, helping me sit up. "The bleeding has stopped, but Cecilia, you need a hospital. This level of stress isn't safe for either of you." "How long until the announcement?" I asked. My voice sounded hollow, distant, like it belonged to someone else. 10 minutes. But you can't possibly think of going out there. You need to rest, to recover." "I'm going." I pulled myself up using the sink, my legs shaking beneath me. In the mirror, I looked like a ghost. Pale skin, hollow eyes, my silver dress wrinkled and stained with blood. But I met my own gaze and found something there I'd never seen before. Strength. Fury. A determination. "He doesn't get to replace me without looking me in the eye," I said. The ballroom was a sea of glittering gowns and expensive tuxedos when I slipped in through a side door. I stayed in the shadows along the wall, my heart pounding so hard I thought everyone must be able to hear it. On stage, Owen stood with Lydia, his hand possessively on her waist. Beside them, her father, Southern Pack Alpha Marcus Mills, beamed with the satisfaction of a man who'd just secured a powerful alliance. Lydia's jasmine perfume hung heavy in the air, so strong it made my stomach turn. Or maybe that was just the pregnancy, or the betrayal, or the way 300 pairs of eyes suddenly turned toward me as someone noticed my presence. The whispers rippled through the crowd like a wave. "That's the companion! What's she doing here?" I thought he dismissed her. Owen's cologne reached me even across the distance. Cedar and snow. A scent that used to comfort me, now felt like betrayal made tangible. His eyes found mine across the room. There was no warmth there, no recognition of what we'd shared. Just cold assessment, like I was a problem to be managed, an inconvenience to be removed. He leaned to whisper something to Beta Gregory Lambert, who immediately started moving toward my position. Security, I realized. He was sending security to remove me like I was some kind of threat. Before Gregory could reach me, I stepped forward into the light. My voice, strengthened by desperation and anger, and something new awakening inside me, carried across the suddenly silent ballroom. "Owen, I need to speak with you. And it's important." The crowd gasped. Whispering to the Alpha King uninvited was a massive breach of protocol, especially in front of foreign dignitaries and pack elders. But I was past caring about protocol. I was past caring about anything except making him see me. Really see me. One last time. Owen's jaw tightened. Lydia's hand went to her stomach in a protective gesture that looked perfectly calculated for the cameras pointed at her. Owen descended the stage steps slowly, deliberately, each footfall echoing in the silent room like a judge's gavel. He stopped 3 feet from me, close enough that I could see the golden flecks in his amber eyes, the ones I used to think were beautiful. Far enough that no one could mistake this for intimacy. "You were told to leave," he said, and his alpha voice made the chandeliers tremble. The power in it pressed against me, demanding submission, obedience. "I'm carrying your child," I started, the words tumbling out in a desperate rush. "Enough." His command cut through my words like a blade, silencing me mid-sentence. "I have been patient with you, Cecilia Conway. I gave you a place in this palace out of kindness, but your obsession has become unseemly." He turned to face the crowd, making sure every witness could hear, every camera could record. His next words would be spread across every pack territory by morning. "For the record, and so there can be no confusion moving forward, I, Alpha King Owen Richmond, formally reject any claim Cecilia Conway may believe she has on me. She has served her purpose, and I release her from all bonds and obligations." He raised his hand in the formal gesture of severing, and the one used to break mate bonds in front of witnesses. The room held its breath, waiting for the visible snap of magic that accompanied such separations, the shimmer of light that showed a bond breaking. Nothing happened. Owen frowned. He repeated the gesture, pushing more alpha power into it, his authority filling the room like a physical force. Still nothing. There was no bond to break, I realized with bitter clarity. Not because we weren't mates, but because whatever connected us had never been acknowledged, never been completed. You couldn't break what had never been whole. Lydia stepped forward, her voice dripping with false sympathy that made my skin crawl. Poor thing, she never had a bond to you at all. She's just a delusional Omega who got attached. The humiliation crashed over me like a wave. The pregnancy hormones, the pain, the betrayal. It was too much for my body to handle. My vision swam, darkness creeping in at the edges. I swayed on my feet, and not a single person moved to catch me. I hit the marble floor hard. My head cracked against the stone, and pain exploded behind my eyes. The last thing I heard before darkness claimed me was Lydia's voice, sweet as poison. Someone call security. Remove her from the premises. When consciousness returned, I was moving. The world swayed and bumped around me, and it took several long moments to realize I was in a vehicle. I tried to sit up, but my head throbbed with each heartbeat. Easy, a familiar voice said. Beta Gregory Lambert sat across from me in what I now recognized as one of the palace's luxury vehicles. He looked uncomfortable, his eyes not quite meeting mine. Alpha King ordered me to relocate you. There's a cottage in Shadow Peak territory. Remote. Private. You'll have a monthly stipend. It's generous, considering. Through my foggy mind, I understood. Exile. He was erasing me from his life completely, sending me so far away that I'd never be able to inconvenience him again. The baby, I whispered, one hand going protectively to my stomach. I'm carrying his baby. Gregory's eyes flicked away, his jaw tight. I don't know what you're talking about. We were halfway through Shadow Peak Mountain Pass when they attacked. 3 massive wolves appeared from the tree line with coordinated precision, their movements too practiced to be random rogues. This wasn't a chance encounter. This was planned. The vehicle swerved violently. The driver, Baylor Haskins, fought the wheel as claws raked the reinforced sides, leaving deep gouges in the metal. The SUV tipped, rolling twice before slamming into the ravine barrier with a sound like thunder. I was thrown against the door, pain shooting through my shoulder and ribs. Blood trickled from a cut on my forehead, warm and sticky. Through the cracked windshield, I watched Gregory climb out of the wreckage. He looked directly at the lead rogue and nodded, a small but unmistakable gesture of recognition. Then he shifted and ran, abandoning me to whatever fate these wolves had planned. The rogues approached slowly, circling the wrecked vehicle like sharks. The largest one, scarred and missing an eye, grinned with too many teeth. His fur was matted with old blood, and he smelled of death and dark magic. Alpha King sends his regards, he said, his voice rough as gravel. I tried to scramble backward, but my ankle screamed in protest. Twisted in the crash, maybe broken. I couldn't run, couldn't fight, couldn't do anything but crawl away from these monsters who'd been sent to kill me. Please, I begged, one hand pressed protectively over my stomach. I'm pregnant. There's a child, an innocent child. The scarred rogue's grin widened. That's exactly why we're here. He lunged, and I felt the impact of his massive body slamming into me. The ground disappeared beneath my feet. For one terrifying moment, I was suspended in air, wind rushing past my face. Then I was falling, tumbling down the cliff face toward the Shadow Peak River that raged below, swollen with spring snowmelt. The icy water closed over my head, and I knew I was going to die. The current pulled me down into darkness. My lungs burned. My body, and already battered from the crash and the fall, had nothing left to give. But the baby did. A pulse of pure silver light erupted from my belly, surrounding me in a cocoon of warmth and power. My eyes snapped open underwater, and I could see the light. See the magic that shouldn't exist in an Omega wolf protecting us both. Deep inside me, that ancient voice spoke again, stronger this time, undeniable. You are Lycan. You are royal. And you do not die today. My body began to change. I should have drowned. The Shadow Peak River in spring was a death sentence, its current strong enough to break bones against the rocks, its temperature cold enough to stop a heart in minutes. Instead, I floated, suspended in a cocoon of silver light that emanated from my belly, from the baby who refused to let us die. My bones didn't break under the pressure of the water. They reinforced, becoming denser, stronger than they'd ever been. My lungs didn't fill with water and drown me. They adapted, pulling oxygen from the magical shield that surrounded us. The cuts and bruises from the crash knitted together, leaving faint silver scars on my skin. And my wolf, the weak Omega wolf I'd had my entire life, began to change. Growing larger, more powerful, transforming into something I'd never imagined possible. I am not Wolf, the voice whispered through my consciousness, resonating in my bones. I am Lycan. You suppressed me for 23 years, daughter of Harris, but the child has broken the binding. Awaken to your birthright. Images crashed through my mind like a tidal wave. A palace of ice and silver, beautiful and terrifying. A woman with my face singing lullabies in a language I didn't know but somehow understood. A man with kind eyes placing a pendant around my infant neck, his voice breaking as he whispered goodbye. An explosion of dark magic, screaming, being hidden in a basket and sent away into the night. I'm not Cecilia Conway, I gasped, the realization hitting harder than the fall from the cliff. I'm not an orphan. I'm not nobody. You are Princess Cecilia Brock, the voice confirmed. Daughter of Lycan King Harris, twin sister to Crown Prince Armani, and you were stolen from us 23 years ago. The silver cocoon carried me downstream, gently depositing me on a rocky bank 3 miles from where I'd fallen. As my feet touched solid ground, the light faded, absorbed back into my body, into the baby who'd saved us both. I collapsed onto the stones, gasping, alive when I should have been dead. 300 miles north, in the throne room of the northern Lycan Palace, an explosion of sound and light erupted without warning. The Moonstone Crown, an ancient artifact said to respond only to the royal bloodline, shattered its protective glass case from the inside. The crystal crown began to glow, pulsing with silver light in rhythm with a heartbeat. Lycan King Harris Brock, in the middle of a council meeting with his generals, spun toward the disturbance. His heart seized in his chest. The crown hadn't activated in 23 years, not since the night they lost her. Your Majesty! General Clay Turlow shouted, his voice barely audible over the ringing of the crown. The Moonstone hasn't responded since the night we lost Cecilia, Harris finished, and his voice breaking. His hand went to his chest where he felt it. A tether he thought had died 2 decades ago. Weak but growing stronger with each passing second. The blood bond to his daughter. Armani, get in here now! Crown Prince Armani Brock burst through the throne room doors, his silver eyes wide with shock and something like hope. I feel it too, Father. She's alive. Our Cecilia is alive. Armani and Cecilia had shared a womb, shared the same heartbeat for 9 months before birth. Even with her wolf suppressed, even across hundreds of miles, Armani had always felt an emptiness where his twin should be. Now that void was filling with warmth, with presence, with desperate fear. She's in pain, Armani growled, his protective instincts flaring to life after years of dormancy. Someone's hurting her. Father, Someone is hurting my sister. Harris grabbed the moonstone crown with trembling hands. Its magic responded to his touch, projecting a map of pure light into the air above them. A silver point pulsed in Shadow Peak territory, near the river, weak but steady. "Ready the helicopters," Harris commanded, his voice shaking with barely contained emotion. "Deploy the Royal Guard. We fly south immediately." He turned to face his generals, and they all took a step back from the fury in his eyes. "If anyone has harmed my daughter," Harris said, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper, "I will burn their territory to ash and scatter the remains to the wind. That is not a threat. That is a promise." I sat on the riverbank, shivering despite the strange warmth still radiating from my core. My dress was destroyed, hanging in tatters around my body. As I should have been freezing, should have been dying from exposure, but I felt stronger than I ever had in my life. "What am I?" I whispered to the empty forest, to the baby growing inside me, to whatever power had just saved our lives. The sound of helicopters cut through the night. Powerful searchlights swept across the trees, and panic seized my chest. Owen had sent people to finish the job. He'd sent more wolves to kill me and the baby. I tried to run, but my ankle buckled, still healing from the crash. I scrambled behind a boulder, pressing my back against the cold stone, one hand protectively over my stomach. But the helicopters bore unfamiliar crests. A silver wolf beneath a crescent moon, not Owen's golden sun. These weren't his forces. A man dropped from the hovering helicopter without rope or ladder. He just jumped 30 feet and landed in a crouch that should have shattered his legs but didn't even make him stumble. He was massive, well over 6 feet tall, with silver hair despite looking only in his 50s. His eyes scanned the area until they locked on my hiding spot. He went completely still. "Blessed moon," he breathed, his voice carrying a mix of wonder and grief. "Cecilia?" "How do you know my name?" I demanded, trying to sound brave even though I was trembling. "Stay back. I don't know who you are, but I won't let you hurt my baby." A second figure landed beside the first, younger, mid-20s, with the same silver-flecked eyes but darker hair. He looked at me, and his face crumbled with emotion I didn't understand. "It's her," he said, his voice thick with tears. "Father, it's really her." The older man, Harris, approached slowly, his hands raised as if I were a frightened animal he didn't want to spook. Maybe I was. "You have your mother's face," he whispered, and there was such pain in his voice that I felt it in my own chest. "Elena, you look exactly like your mother." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a weathered photograph, protected in a silver frame. My breath caught. The woman in the picture could have been my twin. Same dark hair, same delicate features, same eyes. Beside her stood Harris, younger and smiling, holding 2 infants wrapped in silver blankets. Twins. "This was taken the day you were born," Harris said, tears streaming down his weathered face. 3 weeks before the dark witch Carrie Doolin attacked our kingdom. Before your mother died protecting you. Before we thought we lost you forever. I tried to process this. I tried to make sense of royal fathers and dead mothers and a life that wasn't mine. But the adrenaline was fading, the shock setting in, and my body had been through too much tonight. "I'm pregnant," I whispered as my vision darkened around the edges. "Please, whoever you are, protect my baby. Don't let Owen find us." Armani caught me before I hit the ground, his arms strong and sure. "I've got you, sister," he murmured against my hair. "You're safe now. You're home." As consciousness slipped away, I felt strong arms lift me, felt the helicopter rise into the air, felt the warmth of family I'd never known surrounding me like a blanket. And for the first time since the pain started in Owen's bathroom, I felt safe. The world went dark, but this time, the darkness was gentle. I woke in a bed so soft it felt like floating on clouds. Silk sheets, the scent of mountain pine and fresh snow, warm sunlight streaming through windows that showed snow-capped peaks stretching to the horizon. For a moment, I thought I was dreaming. Then reality came crashing back. Owen, the rejection, the fall, the awakening. My hand flew to my stomach, panic seizing my chest. The baby. Was the baby okay? The child is healthy, a gentle voice said from beside the bed. A woman in healer's robes stood by the window, her expression kind. Remarkably so, considering the trauma you both endured. Whatever happened in that river, the baby's magic protected you both. Who are you? I asked, my voice hoarse. I'm Clara Hobbs, the royal physician, she said, moving closer to check my vitals with practiced efficiency. You've been asleep for almost a full day, yet your body needed rest to complete the transformation. Transformation? I looked down at my hands. They looked the same, but when I flexed my fingers, I could feel the difference. Strength humming beneath the surface, power waiting to be released. The door opened and Harris and Armani entered. They moved carefully, like they were afraid to spook me, afraid I might disappear if they moved too quickly. How are you feeling? Harris asked, his voice rough with emotion he was clearly trying to contain. Confused, I admitted. You say I'm your daughter, but I don't remember any of this. I grew up in an orphanage in the Western Territories. I was told my parents died in a car accident when I was a baby. Armani sat at the edge of my bed, careful not to crowd me. You wouldn't remember. You were only 3 weeks old when Mother died, when everything fell apart. Harris pulled up a chair, settling into it like the weight of the story was too heavy to tell standing. 23 years ago, a dark witch named Carrie Doolin unleashed a plague on our kingdom. Dark magic designed specifically to kill the royal bloodline, to destroy us from within. Your mother, Queen Elena, she was the most powerful Lycan of her generation. Armani continued, his voice thick with grief for a mother he barely remembered. When she realized what was happening, that the plague would kill you and me if we stayed, she created a binding spell. It suppressed your Lycan wolf completely, masked your scent, made you appear as a common omega to anyone who might look for you. Harris's hands trembled as he continued the story. Elena sent you away with her most trusted guard, Winnie Turlow's mother, and she was supposed to hide you until the plague passed, until we could find a cure and bring you home safely. But Mother died casting the spell, Armani said. She poured all her power into protecting you, and it killed her. And the guard, she was killed by plague carriers at the border. We found her body 3 days later. But you were gone, Harris finished, his voice breaking completely. We searched for 23 years. Every territory, every pack, every orphanage. We never stopped searching for you, Cecilia. Never stopped hoping we'd find you alive. Harris pulled out a small silver pendant from his pocket, a crescent moon with a tiny sapphire in its center. This was yours. You wore it the night you were taken. We found it with the guard's body, the chain broken. My hand went to my neck, where a thin scar resided. A scar I'd had my entire life, one I'd never known the origin of. The pendant would fit exactly there. I knew it would without even trying. I don't remember any of this, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. I don't remember you, or Mother, or being a princess. We didn't expect you to, Armani said gently. But we remember you. We've been waiting for you to come home. There was a knock at the door, and a woman entered carrying a thick folder. She was tall and strong, with determined eyes. Your Highness, the investigation is complete. Winnie Turlow, Armani introduced her. Daughter of the guard who died protecting you. She's my right hand now. Winnie spread documents across the bed, her expression grim. We've been researching since we found you, Princess. Your connection to Owen Richmond, the timing of everything. It's suspicious. 3 years ago, you appeared in Owen's territory, she continued. No background, no pack, just a random Omega he took interest in. Then suddenly, 3 months ago, he becomes obsessed with Lydia Mills and announces an engagement within weeks. It doesn't fit his pattern. Clara spoke up from her position by the window. I tested your blood when you arrived, Princess. You have an active mate bond. It's suppressed, buried under layers of dark magic, but it's there. And the energy signature matches Owen Richmond's. That's impossible, I said, my heart racing. He rejected me. He feels nothing for me. Because someone made him feel nothing, Winnie said, pulling out a final document with a flourish. We traced the magical signature on your bond. It matches a spell purchased from Carrie Doolin, the same witch who killed your mother. Harris's voice turned to ice. Lydia Mills paid Carrie 50,000 gold pieces for a false bond incantation. It makes the target believe someone else is their fated mate while suppressing the real bond. The spell is dark magic, banned in all territories. But Lydia is pregnant, I protested weakly. I saw her. Owen confirmed it. With someone else's child, Armani confirmed, disgust clear in his voice. Our spies traced her medical records. She was already 2 months pregnant when she approached Owen. The father is Beta Marcus Doolin, Carrie's nephew. This was a setup from the beginning. Rage flooded through me, white-hot and purifying. Owen had been manipulated, yes. The bond had been suppressed by dark magic. But he'd still made choices. He'd still left me bleeding on a bathroom floor. He'd still humiliated me in front of hundreds of witnesses. He'd still ordered my death. I don't want him, I said firmly, meeting my father's eyes. Bond or no bond, magic or no magic, that man abandoned me when I needed him most. He tried to kill me and our baby. I'm not going back to him. Ever. Harris nodded slowly. That's your choice to make, daughter. We won't force you to do anything. But there's something you should know, Clara said gently. The suppression spell on your bond, combined with your awakening, it's created complications with the pregnancy. Fear shot through me. What kind of complications? The baby is pure Lycan, Clara explained. Powerful, demanding, significant magical energy to grow. But your channels were bound for 23 years. They're like muscles that haven't been used. You're weak and struggling to provide what the baby needs. Can you fix it? I asked, one hand protectively over my stomach. We're working on it, Clara assured me. For now, you're stable. But we'll need to monitor you closely as the pregnancy progresses. The next 2 months passed in a blur of training and adjustment. I learned to control my Lycan form, to access the power that had been locked inside me my entire life. I learned palace protocol, met court members, discovered what it meant to be a princess. But most importantly, I learned what it felt like to be wanted, to be protected, to belong somewhere. My pregnancy progressed normally, my belly growing round with the life inside me. The baby was strong, healthy, active. Some nights I would lie awake, feeling her kick, wondering if she would have Owen's eyes or my hair, as if she would be fierce like a Lycan or strategic like an alpha. I tried not to think about Owen himself, tried not to wonder if he knew I was alive, if he cared, if the spell breaking had changed anything for him. It didn't matter, I told myself. He'd made his choices, and I'd made mine. But in the quiet moments, late at night when sleep wouldn't come, I would feel the bond. Still there, still connecting us despite the distance and the betrayal and everything that had happened. And sometimes, just sometimes, I would feel his emotions through that connection. Regret, anguish, desperate, clawing need. And I would close my eyes and push the feelings away, focusing instead on the life growing inside me, on the family I'd found, on the future I was building without him. Owen Richmond could live with his consequences. And I had more important things to worry about. 3 months after Cecilia's fall, Owen Richmond stood in his private office, staring at a portrait of his father. The previous Alpha King who'd taught him that power mattered more than love, that strategy trumped emotion, that showing weakness was the fastest way to lose everything. Owen had followed those teachings his entire life. He'd chosen Lydia because she was politically advantageous, because the Southern Pack alliance strengthened his position. He'd dismissed Cecilia because she was just an Omega, because loving her would have looked weak. Now his wolf was howling in rage every moment of every day, and Owen couldn't remember why any of those reasons had ever made sense. "Beta Gregory," he called, his voice rough from lack of sleep. Gregory entered, looking nervous. He'd been nervous around Owen for weeks now, ever since they'd returned from Shadow Peak without Cecilia's body. "Where exactly did you relocate Cecilia?" Owen asked. "Shadow Peak territory, Your Majesty. The cottage on the Ridge Road." "Take me there. Now." They found the crash site an hour later. Twisted metal, blood on the rocks, deep claw marks from rogues that had clearly been coordinated. Not random. But no body. Just the wreckage and something else. Owen's wolf surged forward, catching a scent that made his entire body freeze. Not death. Not decay. Something else entirely. Silver light. Ozone. Pure power that tasted like lightning on his tongue. And underneath it all, faint but unmistakable, Cecilia's vanilla scent mixed with something new. Sweet, rich, like milk and honey. Pregnancy. "Alpha," Baylor Haskins said, as the tracker kneeling beside the cliff edge. "She was pregnant when she went over. Recently pregnant, maybe 2 months. And she didn't die here." "What?" Owen's heart stopped. "Someone took her," Baylor continued, following the scent trail with practiced precision. "The scent leads north, toward Lycan territory. And sir, this silver residue on the rocks, this is Lycan magic, powerful Lycan magic." Owen stared north, where mountains disappeared into clouds. Cecilia was alive, pregnant with his child, and in the hands of the Lycans, who had every reason to hate him. "Get me everything we have on the Lycan King," he ordered. "Every alliance, every vulnerability, every piece of intelligence." He paused, a terrible suspicion forming in his mind. "And find out if Lydia Mills has been in contact with any witches. Specifically, dark witches from the Doolin family." Back at the palace, Owen didn't bother with subtlety. He cornered Lydia in her suite, Gregory and Baylor flanking him for witnesses. She was lounging on a chaise, one hand on her belly, the picture of pregnant contentment. "Owen, darling," she purred. "I wasn't expecting you until dinner." "Strip the act, Lydia." His alpha command made the windows rattle, made her flinch despite her attempts to look calm. "I know about Carrie Doolin." Her face went pale, then carefully neutral. "I don't know what you're talking about." Baylor threw down financial records. Transfers to numbered accounts, traced back to the Doolin witch family. Gregory added magical analysis showing foreign enchantment in Owen's own blood. "You bought a false bond spell," Owen said, his voice deadly calm. "You made me believe you were my mate when you're not. How long have you been planning this?" At first, Lydia tried to deny it. But under the weight of Owen's alpha pressure, the command that forced truth from pack members, she broke. "Since we were children," she spat, all pretense of sweetness gone. "You were supposed to be mine. Our fathers arranged it when we were young. Then you met that pathetic little Omega and suddenly I wasn't good enough? I did what I had to do." "The baby," Owen growled, his claws extending. "Is it mine?" Lydia laughed, the sound brittle and cruel. "Of course not. You think I'd let you touch me before securing the bond? The child is Marcus Doolin's, Carrie's nephew. He was supposed to be a backup plan, but you were so easy to manipulate I didn't even need it. Owen's world tilted. Everything he thought he knew, everything he'd felt for the past 3 months had been a lie. And Cecilia— "The attack at Shadow Peak," he said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Did you order it?" "Your beta Gregory was very helpful with that," Lydia said, glancing at Gregory, who'd gone rigid with shock. "I told him you wanted her gone permanently. He believed me because I had your scent all over me, your fake mark on my neck. He thought he was following your orders." Gregory made a strangled sound. "Your Majesty, I swear I thought—" "She survived," Owen interrupted, his eyes never leaving Lydia. "Cecilia survived, and she's pregnant with my actual child." For the first time, genuine fear crossed Lydia's face. "Impossible. No Omega survives Shadow Peak rogues. She wasn't an Omega." Owen pulled out the intelligence report Baylor had compiled. "She's Princess Cecilia Brock, daughter of the Lycan King Harris Brock, and you tried to murder Lycan royalty." The color drained from Lydia's face completely. "Guards," Owen called, his voice echoing through the palace. "Arrest Lydia Mills for treason, conspiracy to commit murder, and use of dark magic against the crown. Notify the council we'll need a trial." As guards dragged Lydia away, she screamed curses at him. "You'll regret this. She doesn't want you anyway. You threw her away like garbage. She'll never forgive you." The words hit harder than any physical blow because they were true. The moment Lydia was imprisoned, the spell shattered. Owen felt it break like glass in his chest, sharp and painful but clarifying. And underneath the false bond, surging forward with the force of a tsunami, was the real mate bond to Cecilia. It slammed into him with enough force to drive him to his knees. He could feel her through the connection now that it was no longer suppressed. Alive, healthy, but radiating hurt and anger and betrayal so deep it made his chest ache. And underneath that, another presence. Small, growing, fierce. Their child. "She's pregnant," he breathed, falling to his knees in his office. "Our baby survived." The truth of what he'd done crashed over him. All the coldness, all the indifference he'd felt toward Cecilia over the past 3 months, it had been artificial, imposed by dark magic. Now, freed from the spell, his true feelings overwhelmed him. He loved her. Desperately, completely, devastatingly loved her. He loved her smile, the way she hummed while reading. He loved her kindness to servants, her terrible cooking, the sound of her laugh. He loved the way she looked at him like he was worth something beyond his title, and he'd thrown it all away. Worse than that, he'd tried to kill her. "Your Majesty." Gregory entered, looking haunted. "I swear on my life, I thought I was following your orders. Lydia showed me a written command with your seal." "It was forged," Owen said flatly. "I know, but you still left her to die, Gregory. I'll accept any punishment you deem fit." Owen looked at his beta, a man who'd served his father, who'd been loyal for decades. "You'll help me get her back. That's your punishment. We go north to the Lycan Kingdom and we fix this." Every advisor told Owen it was suicide. The Lycan King would execute him on sight for the attempt on his daughter's life. The Lycan borders were impenetrable, their guards ruthless. Diplomatic channels would take months, and there was no guarantee they'd even agree to meet. Owen didn't care. He shifted to his wolf, a massive gray beast, and he ran. No convoy, no guards, no protocol. Just him and the mate bond pulling him north like a compass pointing home. The first day, he ran through familiar pack territories. Other wolves gave way to their alpha king, sensing his urgency, his desperation. He didn't stop for food or water, pushing his body to its limits. The second day, he entered neutral zones where rogues roamed. They fled from his power, from the fury rolling off him in waves. His paws were bleeding, but he didn't slow down. The third day, the terrain turned brutal. Ice and snow, mountains that would kill a normal wolf. Owen's body was breaking down, running on willpower and the mate bond alone. But he could feel Cecilia getting closer, her presence in his mind growing stronger. By the time he reached the Lycan border, he was running on fumes. His paws were bloody, his fur matted with ice. He'd eaten nothing, slept nothing, but he'd made it. The Lycan guards found him collapsed in the snow at the boundary line. 20 massive Lycan warriors surrounded him, silver spears pointed at his throat. Each one was larger than any wolf he'd ever seen, radiating power that made his exhausted body want to submit. Owen shifted back to human form, naked and freezing and vulnerable. He didn't try to defend himself. "I am Alpha King Owen Richmond," he said, his voice hoarse from days without water. "I have come to see Princess Cecilia. I know what I did. I know I deserve death. But please, let me see her. Let me apologize. And then you can kill me." Crown Prince Armani Brock appeared, radiating cold fury. He looked at Owen with disgust so pure it was almost physical. "You threw my sister off a cliff," Armani said. "You tried to murder her and her child. You humiliated her, rejected her, treated her like she was nothing. Give me one reason I shouldn't run you through right now." Owen met his eyes, not flinching from the hatred he saw there. "Because she's still my mate. Because our child deserves to know I tried to make things right. And because I will spend the rest of my life, however short, proving I've changed." Armani studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded to the guards. "Put him in chains. If my sister wants to see him, that's her choice. If she doesn't, we'll execute him at dawn." As guards dragged Owen toward the palace in silver chains that burned his skin, he caught Cecilia's scent on the wind. Vanilla and pregnant omega sweetness, stronger now, closer. She was here. She was alive. And she was about to learn he'd come for her. Owen just prayed she'd give him the chance to explain before she ordered his execution. 2 months had passed since my rescue. I'd adjusted to palace life, to being a princess, to the reality of Lycan royalty. My belly had grown significantly. 5 months pregnant now, showing clearly beneath the silk gowns the palace seamstresses kept making for me. I was happy, or at least I was trying to be. The formal dinner celebrating the anniversary of my father's coronation should have been joyful. I sat at the head table, Armani on one side, Winnie on the other. Conversation flowed around me about politics, trade agreements, northern pack alliances. Then the pain hit. Not like the cramping in Owen's bathroom. This was worse. So much worse. It felt like something was pulling my life force out through my core, draining me from the inside. I gasped, my hand flying to my stomach. "Cecilia?" Armani caught me as I swayed. "What's wrong?" The baby was moving frantically, distressed in a way I'd never felt before. Through the bond I'd developed with my unborn child, I felt it clearly. The baby was trying to draw power from my Lycan wolf, trying to access magic to fuel her growth. But my channels, suppressed for 23 years, couldn't provide enough. "I can't breathe," I gasped, my vision blurring. Clara rushed over, her healer's hands glowing with diagnostic magic as she pressed them to my belly. Her face went pale. "Her vitals are dropping," Clara said urgently. "The baby's pulling too much magical energy. Her body can't sustain it. We need to get her to the healing chambers now." They carried me through the palace corridors. Within minutes, my skin had turned gray, my breathing shallow and labored. The baby's heartbeat was erratic, panicked, and I could feel her fear through our connection. My father burst into the healing chambers, his face stricken with terror. "What's happening to my daughter?" "The baby is pure Lycan, powerful and demanding. Clara explained, working frantically with healing crystals and magical scans. Princess Cecilia's wolf was bound for 23 years. Her magical channels are like muscles that haven't been used, that they can't handle the power the baby needs to survive. So heal her channels, Armani demanded, pacing like a caged animal. It would take months of intensive training, Clara said, her voice breaking. We don't have months. Without a stable power source, the baby will drain her completely trying to get what she needs. They'll both die within 72 hours. The room fell silent, except for my labored breathing. There's one option, Clara said reluctantly. A completed mate bond. If her true mate marked her, they could share life force. His power could stabilize her channels, give the baby what it needs without killing her. The silence stretched, heavy and terrible. Her mate tried to kill her, Armani said flatly. Her mate is here, my father said quietly. In the dungeons. He arrived 2 days ago. I'd known Owen was here. I'd felt him through the bond the moment he crossed into Lycan territory, felt his exhaustion and desperation. I'd told Armani to lock him up, that I didn't want to see him. Now, lying here dying, I had to face the truth. My pride wasn't worth my daughter's life. Bring him, I whispered, each word an effort. Let me see him. They brought Owen up from the dungeons in silver chains. The Lycan's silver burned wolfskin left angry red marks on his wrists and ankles. He was thin, haunted, looking like he hadn't slept in days. When his eyes landed on me in the bed, they went wide with terror. Cecilia, he breathed, straining against the guards holding him. What's wrong? What's happening to you? You don't get to care, Armani snarled, stepping between us. You gave up that right when you threw her off a cliff. Owen flinched like he'd been struck. I know what I did. The spell, Lydia's spell, it's no excuse. I should have fought harder. I should have questioned everything. But Cecilia, please believe me, I never wanted you hurt. You thought I was weak, I finished, my voice barely audible. Disposable. Just an Omega who didn't matter. I was wrong, Owen said, falling to his knees despite the chains, despite the guards trying to hold him upright. About everything. You're not weak. You're the strongest person I've ever met. You survived everything I did to you and became a queen. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I left you in pain. I'm sorry I believed lies over what my heart was telling me. I'm sorry I didn't protect our child. Tears streamed down his face, and when through the bond, I could feel that they were genuine. I felt it when the spell broke. I felt you, felt your fear and your hurt. I felt the baby, and I knew I'd destroyed the only thing that ever mattered. I looked at him. Really looked. He wasn't the cold alpha king anymore. He was broken, desperate, stripped of all pretense. The baby's dying, I said. I'm dying. The only way to save us is a completed mate bond. Your mark. Owen's eyes widened. Then do it. Please. Let me save you. Let me save our daughter. It's permanent, Clara warned, stepping forward. Once marked, the bond can never be severed. You'll be tied together for eternity. Death is the only thing that can break it. I don't want to sever it, Owen said, looking only at me. I want to deserve it. I want to spend every day for the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you. I closed my eyes, feeling the baby's heartbeat getting weaker with each passing moment. This wasn't about forgiveness, not yet. This was about survival, about giving my daughter a chance to live. Do it, I whispered. Save our baby. The guards released Owen's chains. He moved to the bed slowly, reverently, as if approaching something sacred. My father and brothers stood ready to intervene if he hurt me, their eyes tracking his every movement. Owen knelt beside the bed, His hand trembled as he brushed my silver hair away from my neck, exposing the place where a mate mark would go. I, Owen Richmond, claim you, Cecilia Brock, as my true mate, he said, his voice steady despite the tears on his face. I bind my soul to yours, my strength to yours, my life to yours. I forsake all others and mark you as mine, now and forever. His canines extended. He leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to the junction of my neck and shoulder, asking permission one last time. I tilted my head, exposing my throat in the ultimate gesture of trust. Owen bit down. The reaction was instantaneous and explosive. Silver light from my Lycan blood mixed with golden light from Owen's alpha power, swirling together in a vortex of pure magic. The bond snapped into place with a force that shook the entire palace, that every wolf and Lycan in the kingdom could feel. Owen poured everything into the connection. His alpha strength flooded through the mark, filling my depleted channels like water rushing into a drought-stricken riverbed. The baby, sensing the influx of power, settled immediately, and the frantic heartbeat steadied. The distressed movements stopped. Warmth spread through my body, chasing away the gray pallor of approaching death. My eyes flew open, glowing pure silver as the magic settled into place. The mark on my neck glowed, a silver crescent moon intertwined with a golden sun. Clara checked my vitals, her hands shaking with relief. It worked. The baby's stable. She's stable. They're both going to be okay. Owen pulled back, licking the wound to seal it. Then he collapsed beside the bed, overwhelmed by emotion and exhaustion. "Thank you," he sobbed. "Thank you for letting me save you." I could feel him through the bond now. Not just his presence, but his emotions, his remorse, his love, his desperate hope that I might someday forgive him. "We're not okay," I said quietly, my hand going to the mark on my shoulder. This doesn't fix what you did." "I know," Owen whispered, reaching for my hand. When I didn't pull away, he pressed it to his chest, where his heart beat in time with mine. "But I'll spend forever trying." 3 months passed. The mate bond kept the baby healthy, kept me alive, but it didn't erase the emotional wounds. Owen lived at the Lycan Palace as what my father called a prisoner guest. He was allowed to see me daily, but never alone, never without supervision. He didn't complain. He accepted every restriction, every cold look from Armani, every protective hover from my father. He was patient in a way I'd never seen from him before. One afternoon, heavily pregnant at 8 months, I asked Armani to leave us alone on the terrace. My brother protested, but I insisted. "I need to hear it," I told Owen when we were finally alone, at the mountain breeze cool on my face. "All of it. No excuses. What happened?" Owen told me everything. Meeting Lydia at a political summit, the sudden overwhelming bond he felt when the spell activated, the pressure from his council to secure a southern alliance, his growing coldness toward me that he couldn't explain, couldn't fight. "I tried to resist it," he said, his voice raw with honesty. "There were moments where I'd see you and feel wrong, like I was forgetting something important. But the spell was strong, and I was too proud to question my own feelings, too arrogant to think I could be manipulated." "You left me bleeding on a bathroom floor," I said, the memory still sharp. "I know." "You publicly humiliated me in front of hundreds of people." "I know." "You ordered my death." My voice broke on those words, on the enormity of what he'd done. "I thought I was ordering your relocation," Owen said, tears streaming down his face. "But I knew Gregory would interpret it the way Lydia wanted. So yes, I'm responsible. I killed you, or tried to, and I'll carry that guilt until the day I die." "Why should I forgive you?" I asked, needing to hear his answer. "You shouldn't," Owen said simply. I don't deserve forgiveness. I don't deserve you or our daughter or this second chance, but I'm begging for the opportunity to try. Not to erase what I did, but to build something new. Our daughter deserves a father who fights for her every single day. And you deserve a mate who chooses you, who protects you, who puts you first. Always. I looked at him for a long moment. He'd changed. The arrogant Alpha King was gone, replaced by a man humbled by his failures, and determined to be better. I can't promise to love you again, I said carefully. Not yet. The hurt is still too fresh. I understand. But I can promise to try, I finished. For our daughter. And maybe, eventually, for us. Owen's face crumbled with relief. That's all I ask. That's more than I deserve. Labor came early, at 38 weeks, during a spring thunderstorm that rattled the palace windows. I woke to pain and wetness, my water breaking in a rush. Owen! I called through the mate bond, not even thinking about it. He was at my door in seconds, having taken quarters in the adjoining room. I'm here. What do you need? The baby's coming, I gasped. Lycan births were faster than wolf births, more intense and primal. Clara and her team of healers worked with practiced efficiency, but this was my battle to fight. My body's work to do. Owen stayed by my side through all of it. He held my hand even when I squeezed hard enough that bones cracked. He breathed with me through contractions, fed me strength through the bond when mine faltered, whispered encouragement when the pain made me want to give up. You're amazing, he murmured against my sweat-soaked hair. You're so strong, so perfect. Almost there, my love. Just a little more. At hour 3, the baby's position shifted, going breech. The healers worked to turn her, but she was stubborn, refusing to cooperate. We need to do this manually, Clara said, her expression serious. Princess, this is going to hurt. Do it, I gritted out. Save my baby. Owen gripped my hand tighter. Take my strength. All of it. Whatever you need. When the baby finally crowned, and I screamed with effort and triumph and relief all mixed together. One more push, and Clara caught a squirming, furious infant. It's a girl, Clara announced, tears in her eyes. The baby didn't cry. She roared, a tiny, fierce sound that made the windows rattle with power. Her eyes opened immediately, revealing a stunning mix I'd never seen before. One silver, one gold. Lycan and wolf, perfectly balanced. Clara cleaned her quickly and placed her on my chest. The baby settled instantly, her tiny hand wrapping around my finger. Hello, Pearl, I sobbed, overwhelmed with love. We've been waiting for you. Owen, seeing his daughter for the first time, broke down completely. She's perfect. You're both perfect, thank you. Thank you for giving me this. 2 weeks later, the presentation ceremony took place on neutral ground. A massive field between Lycan and werewolf territories. Thousands gathered from both sides. Lycan warriors in silver armor stood alongside werewolf pack members in formal dress. Owen stood at the center, holding Pearl, wearing both his Alpha King regalia and a Lycan honor cord that my father had granted him. I stood beside him in a gown of silver and gold, unity made visible. This is Princess Pearl Richmond Brock, Owen announced, his voice carrying across the field. Daughter of Alpha King Owen Richmond and Crown Princess Cecilia Brock. Heir to both thrones. Bridge between our peoples. As if understanding the importance of the moment, baby Pearl's eyes flashed. Silver and gold swirling together, releasing a pulse of combined magic that rippled out across both crowds. The effect was immediate. Every wolf and Lycan in the field felt it, and the recognition of royalty, the promise of unity, the end of 1,000 years of separation. They knelt. All of them, wolves and Lycans together, heads bowed in respect and recognition. Armani stepped forward from the Lycan side. From the wolf side, reformed Beta Gregory approached, having spent months proving his loyalty and remorse. They met in the middle, clasping forearms in the traditional gesture of alliance. "Two kingdoms, one blood," my father declared, his voice ringing with emotion. "Let this child be the bridge that ends our division." Cheers erupted. For the first time in 1,000 years, Lycans and wolves celebrated together, united by hope and by the tiny baby who represented their shared future. Pearl, oblivious to the historic moment, yawned and fell asleep in Owen's arms. I leaned into Owen, tears of joy streaming down my face. "We did it." "You did it," Owen corrected, kissing my temple. "You survived, you forgave, you built this future for all of us." 5 years later, I sat in a meadow on the border between kingdoms, now called Unity Field. Spring flowers bloomed in wild profusion, painting the grass in shades of purple and gold. I was 6 months pregnant with our second child, a boy this time, and I watched Pearl chase her Uncle Armani in wolf form across the field. Pearl could shift seamlessly between Lycan and regular wolf, a gift unique to her hybrid nature. Currently in Lycan form, larger and silver-furred, she tackled Armani, and they rolled through the flowers, laughing. Owen emerged from the forest carrying a basket of peaches. He'd made the 3-hour trip to the human market himself, refusing to send servants, and knowing they were my constant craving. "Your favorite," he said, sitting beside me on the blanket. "Our son is going to love peaches too," I said, placing Owen's hand on my belly where the baby kicked in response to his father's touch. My father arrived with Winnie, who was now officially courting Armani. Gregory approached with Clara, recently bonded after years of her helping him earn redemption. The families mingled, wolf and Lycan together, barriers long since dissolved. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and silver, Owen pulled me close. "Do you remember the bathroom?" he asked quietly. "The night you thought you were dying alone?" "I remember," I said. "I wish I could go back and break down that door," he whispered. "Hold you. Tell you everything would be okay." I turned in his arms, cupping his face. "Oh, you can't change the past, Owen. But you gave me this." I gestured to Pearl playing, to the families gathered, to the life we'd built from ashes and pain. "This is better than okay. This is everything." As darkness fell, we walked home together to the palace that now belonged to both kingdoms. Pearl rode on Owen's shoulders, chattering about her day and the adventures she'd have tomorrow. My hand rested on my belly, feeling our son kick. The past had been pain, but the future was ours, built not on perfection, but on forgiveness, growth, and love that had survived everything meant to destroy it. I paused at the threshold of our home, looking back at the path we'd walked. Owen took my hand, and together we stepped inside, closing the door on yesterday and embracing all our tomorrows.